Good evening, brothers and sisters. Father Edwin here, coming to you from the studios of WSBP on the hill overlooking downtown Newark, broadcasting on a frequency of, I have no idea, I have to ask Miss Tuorto what frequency we're broadcasting on, but we're happy to be here tonight for this town hall for questions that parents or kids may have that may not get a chance to be asked in convo. So any questions are acceptable. If I don't have an answer, I'll either ask people and get an answer for you, or I'll make something up. And so the purpose of tonight is really to give everybody an opportunity to ask whatever questions they want in this kind of new format of going to school online, and being together at a distance. So as you can see, I hope Sister Ann is here, who's responsible for the elementary division, or grades kindergarten through 6. Sister Ann, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And Jim Duffy, the head of our, responsible for our middle division, grades 7 and 8. Thanks, Duff, for being here.
No problem.
And Miss Tuorto, who is the factotum, responsible for everything academic here at school, as well as being a meteorologist and teaching science and letting us know when certain storms are coming, when we should duck and when we don't have to duck. So, Michelle, thanks for being here.
Hi, everybody.
So I'll give you a few minutes to start firing the questions, and I'll just say a few kind of preliminary things, and you can indicate who, if you want, who you'd like to answer the question, or I'll decide, I'll parcel them out to people as I think fit. Number one, we have no idea how long we'll be going to school this way. None. The governor right now has it, I think, until May 15th.
May 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me to think that any of the schools in the state will come back this year, because how do you do it, right? How do you know that the people that are coming in the building either are not carriers of the virus or one way or another? So it'll likely be difficult. There's great discussions going on right now in universities, some of the most prominent universities in the world, about moving their first semester from the fall to the winter, so that they wouldn't begin their first semester face-to-face until January. So as more information becomes available to the scientists as whether or not people are immune once they've had the virus or not, we don't know any of that yet, I don't think. And once we get the facts, as Governor Cuomo says, what we need to work off of is the truth and the facts. The truth and the facts, not off emotion, not off of politics. And keeping in mind that similar to other things that have happened in this country relative to education with Black and brown people, in terms of opportunities with Black and brown people, a lot of the burden of this disease has inflicted Black and brown people, once again, a further suffering. So I will not make any decision, even if the governor says we can come back, unless I can be certain that these kids can be protected and remain healthy. So that's kind of a beginning. I would say this secondly. The kids have been absolutely spectacular in class, as have been the teachers. I've been in a lot of classes, and I think Mr. Duffy and Ms. Tuorto and Sister Ann can comment. They've probably been in a whole lot more than I have. It's impressive to see what's going on face-to-face every day, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just as if kids were sitting in the classroom here in school. So the kids are doing an absolute great job. The leadership is terrific. We have Convo 3 days a week. People from all over the world are coming to Convo. You heard me correctly, all over the world come to Convo. Some elders around the country come to Convo because it gives them an encouragement, because they can participate in the songs, they can pray, they can send in prayer requests. So it's been a great service that the students are providing, as well as Dr. Lansing and Mr. Lopina, the brains behind the whole thing on the directing and producing the convo every morning. He's producing this thing tonight, as a matter of fact. So we thank Dexter. He reminds me all the time that I was mad as heck at him when he was a kid because he went to NJIT and not to Columbia. I think Dex, you misunderstood me. I think you should have gone to NJIT all the time, and we're thankful for all of what you learned there to make this thing work. So again, the kids have been and the adults have been creative, imaginative. They're super smart, so they can make this stuff happen, and it's been great. The third thing I would say, and then I'm going to stop and let you questions coming in, Dex.
Yes, they are, Father.
All right, let me just say this one thing, people. This is very important, especially for parents. There are a group of attendance at class, beginning in first block, is running at 99 point some percent every day in both the middle and the prep division. Although today the middle division slipped to 98 something. But what is a problem is kids getting up. And we have guys sometimes sleeping through convo or sleeping through class. And that's because, and this is where I need parents, that's because guys go to school, when class is over, they go to sleep. They sleep until 6 or 7 o'clock at night, make dinner for them, they eat, then they stay up until 3 a.m. watching Netflix or being on the phone with somebody or other things that are much worse than Netflix. So parents need to create a schedule for these guys and make them live by it. Forget about loving them. Structure their day. That will be an act of love for them long term. But you've got to make sure that they're up and in pre-combo at 8:20 and not still sleeping because they didn't go to bed until an hour before. Please help us with that. That's important. Now, questions. Go ahead, Dex.
One of the first questions. Why are classes being held only 3 times a week? Maybe
that's a good question, and I think I'm going to defer that one. Part of it was when we started we didn't know how long we were going to be doing this, whether it would just be 2 weeks or whatever. But I don't know, Ms. Tuorto, you may have an opinion on that.
When we got together and talked about what distance learning is like, because this is different than when you take an online class in college and there was never meant to be an in-person component. This is us taking what we do in person and trying to replicate it the best we can online. It's a very different way of teaching. Speaking as somebody who's typically very hands-on with the way she teaches, as you can see with my Earth Day things behind me, you have to completely re-envision how to deliver that instruction, still differentiate for the different kids in your class, and do it in a way that's largely hands-off. Part of that is the amount of time in a row that you can do with kids, such as the 75-minute block that we do in the prep division when we're in person together. 75 minutes together on an online platform where it's going to be largely lecture and discussion based, and you can't really get in as many of those group activities as you would in person. The attention span is just not there, and it's not there for the adults either. It's something it's very exhausting to teach in this way because you have to try to keep track of everybody in your class. You have this sea of 25 squares in front of you to watch, to try to figure out who looks like they're confused or how many hands are up, and do you see their hands are up. So doing that 3 days a week allows us to really hone in on the time we spend on those days, and then take the other days where we all offer office hours so guys can come in and have more of that one-on-one with us or work together with one of their partners in class with the teacher in office hours and shrink the classroom down a little bit. The way we do organically when we're teaching day-to-day within the classroom, we can break into groups and have one-on-one time there, which is near impossible to do in the 45 minutes that we've now set aside to do the full class instruction. So by having different modalities, we've built it in by having different things to do on different days, rather than trying to fit that all in on the one block period that we would have had if we were together.
Dex, can you tell whether that question was asked by a parent or by a student?
I could, but I have to, give me a few minutes so I can
Let me also say, Michelle, why don't you may say something about where we're going for the rest of the year, planning at least. with regard to present modality and spring phase?
So spring phase, as you know, that's hands-on and active. The trail, you're out in the woods cooking, you're in the kitchen, you're in the shop, right? Drama, you're on the stage. To do that under this is near to impossible. So what we decided to do, also because you can't cover as much material on a daily basis in this format as you can in an in-person format, is to extend these winter term classes throughout what would have been our spring phase, the month of May, and culminate in final exams in the first week in June. That'll allow us plenty of time, especially for students who this format is a little bit of a struggle to get used to or to work in. Plenty of time to get through all the material that students would have needed to get through in their winter term classes, and also make up for what we can in terms of not being able to do that experiential spring phase, the hands-on in person that we're so used to doing in May.
Another question, Dex? Duff, do you have anything? Your middle division operates a little bit differently, doesn't it?
A little bit, but I mean, we're following along the same path right now. I mean, I want to take a moment to thank the parents for their willingness to jump on board with this. We did this very quickly. We walked off the property on Friday, and the following Monday, we were in virtual classes. We've had a lot of success in the middle division. If students are not where they're supposed to be or not doing what they're supposed to be doing, one, reach out to the student, and the second time reach out to student and parent, and problems have been fixed very quickly. We've actually seen a number of students excelling in this format, where day one, I was watching one guy throwing a ball up in the air, and by day 4, he's sitting at the desk and he's locked in. He's going into Convo to get somebody out of the chat to bring them into the group chat where they should be so they can get marked present. So we've seen a lot of positive with all the struggles.
Sister Ann, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I have to second that. I really am so grateful to the teachers, the parents, the grandparents, all the adults who are trying to work together for the benefit of the children, and also looking out for the well-being of the families. So much is going on, and I know that it is certainly not easy to try to work from home as the parent and also take care of your children's basic needs and then also the academic needs. So clearly the kindergarten through 6th graders have a different format than the middle and prep division based on their developmental needs, their attention spans. Younger children, of course, learn so much more through experiential experiences, learning hands-on and with their peers. And so that has been a little different than what you're hearing from the middle and prep division classes. But like that, we have been doing Google Classroom, posting assignments, as well as Google Meets. Teachers have been meeting in small groups and large groups with the students. And then also teachers and teachers' aides have been reaching out to our youngest members, to their families, just to continue that connection and to make sure that the classmates also have the opportunity to kind of talk with each other, chat with each other. I think the biggest thing that has inspired me is students who might have been more shy and quiet in the classroom setting because they have a little bit more space, shall we say, just with the cyber distance, that they're becoming more confident to speak up and answer online in class, and also how students are helping one another to figure out the technology, to figure out some of the solutions. And I think that's been one of the big inspirations, that the kids are really helping each other to rise to the occasion. So
speaking of rising to the occasion, Sister Ann, it was Holy Week, I think, and one of the kindergarten kids was making bread, beautiful rolls, with his mom, and he sent the pictures to me in the middle of Holy Week when we weren't eating as much as we might other times, and I said to him that he was just torturing me because these rolls that he had made looked absolutely delicious. So the kindergarten kids are involved in everything, and they're excited, and they make me excited too when I see the things that they do. What's another question, Dex? Oh, I just thought of something. If you're a parent and happen to be looking at the kid's screen when he's in class, make sure his screen is on. Because what some guys do is they log in, say hello to the teacher, then turn the screen off, and they're probably playing some video game behind the scenes.
Camera, not screen.
The screen. Oh yeah, thank you, Dex. That's why we sent you to NJIT, Dex. Make sure their cameras are on. Make sure their cameras are on. They're not playing some video game. I don't even know all the games, but parents no doubt know. So, what's another question, Dex?
Will the start of the year for the incoming freshmen be pushed to September, or is it too soon to make that decision?
No. It will not be pushed to September. Nice try, whoever asked. Nope. The question will be when we start. There are discussions going on right now among us. I think kids are involved in some of those, Michelle, or will be.
Yeah, they will be.
But none of I'm not real happy, and I don't think some of the adults are real happy with the thought of stopping academics and then not starting again till the end of July. We had a previous format that I'm not sure anybody in the school even remembers. Do they? When school started the end of June, beginning of July. I don't know.
That was a while ago, Father.
Yeah. So there may not be anybody in school who remembers that. So first term, or previously known as summer phase, used to begin in the last week of June and run through July. And it may be that that's a format that we would consider again, so that there's not a long break in between for this, especially if we're not going to be able to be back together for a while. So as this sorts out going forward, depending on when we're able to be all back together again, that'll determine how we look at the summer. I should also say that if the freshmen are unable to do the backpack in May, and that's certainly what it looks like right now, there will be a backpack when we're able to do it. There will be a backpack. I don't care whether you don't do it until you're in middle of 10th grade. I don't know, but there'll be a backpack. And you may be begging for it to be in the nice weather rather than in the middle of the winter, but we've done them in the middle of the winter as well. So that's number one. And the overnight will also happen. It's just a question of when will it be able to happen. We may very well begin school before we're able to do the overnight. And it could be weeks or months before we're able to do the overnight. But I would also say that Mr. Gallo has been meeting on a regular basis with students with the incoming freshman class. Every week he meets with them on Thursdays at 3:15. And so far, so good. And we already have 120 some guys, 125 guys. And there's applications online for parents. If you have friends, people that are interested in applying but haven't done it, you can go to the website and get an application online, fill it out, get it in, and Mario will make decisions on it. That's true for any level of the school, kindergarten all the way through the prep division. Applications are available online. So what else, Dex?
Senior graduations and diplomas. Are they going to happen?
Yeah, two different questions. Diplomas will certainly happen for anybody that has earned it. And that's why I keep reminding the kids, this is not going to be pass-fail, folks. Or this is not also going to be whatever your last grade was, that's what you're going to get, even if it was 6 weeks ago. That's not happening. The grades will be the grades that you earn up until the end of school. And it's hard for me to answer the graduation question because I don't know at what point we may be able to be together again safely. I don't know that. If we're not able to be together again safely for a graduation ceremony in Conlin Auditorium, we will do that ceremony at some point, just like the backpack and just like the overnight. We will do it at some point, but we will also do some things virtually to celebrate the seniors. And we're already working on that to celebrate the seniors and their achievements while they've been here in school. and to thank them for their leadership this year. The format of that celebration is presently under discussion and how we're going to do it, but it will be no doubt with photos and videos and that kind of stuff. That's what it looks like right now. But the diplomas will be given when you earned it. So in other words, in June, if you've done that and or the guys may say to me, the kids may say to me, no, we'd rather wait and get the diploma. Just send my transcript to the school and I'm going to. We'd rather wait to get the diploma at the graduation ceremony. That's up to the kids and to us. We'll discuss that. I haven't discussed that with the kids yet. What else?
Got a couple of questions about why we're not involving the elementary in Convo officially on screen.
So, Sister Ann, do you have a...
Yeah, there are actually elementary division students and their families that are participating as far as watching Convo and praying with and singing along with the songs and the affirmations. As per safety reasons with the children's SBP accounts, they are not posting online just because their accounts are used in a different way so they can enter into Google Classroom, but it is not used out in the public forum the way we'd post on the chat. So they are participating in that manner. But I also was going to say, not to interrupt, Father, but to say to have them on screen or something like that, that is something that a couple of the kids have been asking me and we've been tossing around.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can certainly do that.
Our grade group leaders, yeah.
To have the sixth grade leaders or different students in, just like we have the middle division. Parents may notice that we've gone to some lengths to make sure that at Convo, if you've seen it, we do not use the kids' names. So you'll notice that Dr. Lansing will say the group leader from Thomas Long will lead us tonight because we just don't want to put kids' names out there and their faces. So we've been trying to be careful about doing that. But we can certainly involve the elementary division on screen with Convo in attendance. That's a good point. Great question. What else?
Can we discuss the process from going from 6th grade to 7th grade?
Yeah. Well, from our perspective, I think, and I'm not trying to be a wise guy, that the process is you successfully complete 6th grade, you move to 7th grade. So there's not a separate application process. There's not a separate acceptance that has to happen. Once you're accepted here, no matter what grade it is, you're here. So if you're accepted at kindergarten, the idea would be that you graduate finish from the 8th grade for the girls, and the guys would be finished from the senior year. So if that's your question, there is no separate process. If you pass and you desire to remain here, you move to the 7th grade.
What's the best way to schedule a parent-teacher conference?
Michelle?
So you can continue to send any conference requests if you'd like to meet with all of your child's teachers, which I always recommend, to that teacherconference@sbp.org email address. It's still being monitored, and somebody there on the registrar can help you get that meeting. And it would be done through this kind of format. It would be a Google Meet with you and all of your child's teachers. If you just want to talk to an individual teacher, you can go ahead and send an email message through the school website. If you go on the faculty tab at sbp.org, and you can reach any faculty member individually that way.
You may have seen that the sun was going down out here on King Boulevard, so I had to pull it back a couple of degrees so it would lighten up.
I did notice you were in shadow, Father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I pulled the sun back a little bit so it would be lighter.
There was several questions about the start of summer again. There were some people that joined a little late. You touched upon it earlier.
Yeah, the start of summer is under discussion right now, but that's fair to say, Michelle?
Fair to say.
Yes.
And it could likely start the end of June, so that we don't have this large gap of time for kids, but more will be coming about that relatively soon. You have an idea, Michelle, when you'll be able to make some suggestions?
We have our next meeting is scheduled for early next week, and people have been doing breakout meetings this week with other groups to pull in different ideas. One of the things, just for everybody who's listening, one of the reasons we initially moved the start of summer phase to the end of July was that the school year and the graduation celebrations and everything for students who were moving from 8th to ninth grade were starting to bleed into that last week in June when we were starting school. So that impeded their ability to come to class, do the overnight, and do all those things that are important to us in our building of community, especially for new students. So if we're still under a stay-at-home order, and I hope to goodness we're not, in June, there's not really that impediment of students are going to be out doing their graduations and things like that. What if we started school the end of June? And also if kids are just staying home for all these months, to be able to do something focused together at that time and break up the summer might be a good thing. So those are just some of the things we've been talking about. And then, of course, the unintended consequences. What are some things that would be negatively affected if we moved it? So a lot of people are talking about that.
The other reason that influenced us in moving from July to August was a lot of programs that were going on university campuses that usually happen in July. They do not happen in August because a lot of universities come back to school in the middle of August. So we decided to move out of the way of those programs so our kids could take advantage of them more without being conflicted with what was going on here. But my guess is a lot of that's not going to happen this summer on university campuses. So the secret, in 1981, we used to go, we still do, we go take all the kids to funerals of anybody that dies in the community, or anybody in the community that loses someone in the immediate family. And we were coming back from a funeral, and there were like 10 buses snaking through the streets. And David Perillas, who was the assistant senior group leader at the time, looked at me and he said, "Father Ed, the secret to St. Benedict's is mobility." And I would say the secret to St. Benedict's right now is flexibility, the ability to adjust to circumstances that are going on at the moment and not get stuck in the way things have always been. So playing off of David's advice to me and is the secret to St. Benedict's now is flexibility. And we're working on that, and we'll get it to you. What else, Dex? I have, by the way, you all know Miss Kronberg, right, who runs my life. She just told me to turn on a light.
Good evening, Miss Kronberg.
Yeah, happy now, Miss Kronberg?
All right. When we come back to school, will the students be wearing masks and be practicing social distancing?
Father, can I jump in?
Yeah, sure.
Something that I say to Father a lot when he comes to us in Science Land and asks questions is sometimes we don't have the answers yet because we don't have enough data to work from yet. And I think that's one of those great questions that we don't have the data to work from yet. If you've been listening to the news, which I know it's hard not to unless you literally shut it off, New Jersey's cases and infections haven't flattened quite the way New York's has yet. And there's still so much unknown on when you can even start reopening some key non-essentials like schools. Forget that next step of what does it look like? How many people can you really have together? Can you have a whole school go back at once, or do you have to do it in split sessions? So that's, I think, one of those big question marks and unknowns, because it's when do we come back first? And when we come back, how long there's a wait for that, I think influences a lot of what your question is. But Father's been really clear with everybody, and we're all in agreement that health and safety is number one. So whatever the recommendations of the experts are, we will certainly go with that.
So the interesting thing to me about this whole thing, and the concerning thing, is the question we just asked. I'm assuming by a parent about masks and social distancing. Always remember, I've said this to parents a number of times, that when you're dealing with teenagers, you're dealing with people that are mentally impaired, right? Because they're Their brains are not fully developed yet, number one. And there are cultural implications to a lot of these things that go on in this situation. So if you're from Sweden or Norway, and you're a teenager, to say we're going to practice what's called, I don't like the term, but social distancing. It's more physical distancing. Mm-hmm. Social distancing, we're carrying on social interaction right now. Mm-hmm. And that's critical to the human being. So I'm not particularly interested in social distancing. In fact, I don't want to see social distancing. I like to see physical distancing. But if you're from Norway or Sweden, physical distancing means one thing. If you're African American or Latino, how the heck are you going to get a bunch of teenagers to keep their hands off of one another? It's a huge challenge. Because why? They're hugging on each other all the time, touching each other. It happens all the time. It's part of who we are in the African American and Latino culture. Latino writ large. In other words, Miss Tuorto is Latina, right? Because Latin cultures, Italy, Spain, those kinds of places, and then obviously South America, Central America, where that's very. I don't know how I supervise that, to tell 15-year-old kids to stay away from each other. I don't know how you do that. That's a big time challenge. So that's a long-winded answer, I guess, to will they be wearing masks and practicing distancing, social distancing? I have no idea yet, because we don't know whether once you have the virus, whether you're in fact immune or not. We don't know that yet. We don't have enough data. Enough people have not yet been tested to know. So there's a whole lot of variables that are going on out there. And the problem is, when you have 24-hour news services, you got to say something 24 hours a day. And people are saying things. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. That's why I'm impressed by Governor Cuomo, who says the truth and the facts. And Governor Murphy is saying, frankly, the same stuff. The truth and the facts. That's how we'll make decisions.
Change gears, Father. Does St. Mary's Parish Church have a YouTube Live or Facebook Live of Sunday or daily Mass?
Yes.
We live stream. Go ahead, Sister Ann. You want to comment on that?
Yes, because Sister Linda and some of the monks and volunteers have been great about doing all of that. Sunday Mass, they do have live stream at the 10:30. Just this past Sunday, they even had live stream for Vespers, the evening prayers. So, yes, absolutely.
And that's through the Newark Abbey on YouTube, correct, Father?
Yes, if you go to the website for the monastery, is it Newark Abbey or Benedict Abbey of Newark? Newark Abbey?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think it's Newark Abbey.
Newark Abbey, yeah, you can go on there and you can see. But I think Brother Aziel also puts it on the school website, so you can probably pick it up at either place.
For the off time, is it possible to focus on SAT prep during the off months? Students are more likely to participate in group learning rather than practicing on their own. A summer SAT boot camp is welcomed.
There's no doubt a parent asking that as well, or saying that as well. Michelle, you have anything to?
Sure. One of the things we've actually talked about with Mr. Jean-Baptiste and Mr. Drill and Ms. Muller in the College Guidance Department is a development that's going on in colleges right now. And I actually got a bulletin from my alma mater who determined that SAT and ACT scores will not be part of applications for people who are applying for admission next year. And I'm expecting, having seen that's going to fall into place. Now, that's not saying you shouldn't prep, because I don't know that every school is going to do that, but I can imagine as the competitive schools do it, others are going to follow suit as well, to be able to try to create some kind of equity out of this situation, especially because I'm not quite sure how to say this. What's really important right now is not necessarily that kids are focusing on that. This is a hard enough time to live through. That being said, I will ask Mr. Jean-Baptiste if the group that usually does our in-school SAT prep class on the weekends is doing anything that's virtual that people can sign up for. So I will find out about that. If you want to reach out, whoever asked that question, send me an email at mtuorto@sbp.org. You can get the spelling off the website. I'd be glad to communicate with you about that. And I'll be glad to ask that question to see if that's another resource. I know Mr. Jean-Baptiste has also been encouraging guys to use the Khan Academy resources for SAT and ACT prep. They're quite good.
We'll also put out for you, parents, especially the kids pick up on it from talking to each other, the list of schools where guys have been admitted. In fact, we may wait for another week because by May 1st, the kids have to decide where they're going to matriculate. So we'll send out a list so you can see it or post it on where guys have been admitted and where they're going to matriculate in the fall. It's a pretty impressive list of schools from. Now, if I mention the wrong ones of any of the people that are on this screen, I'll get in trouble. So it's an impressive list. If I don't say Cornell, if I don't say Scranton, if I don't say something, I'll get in trouble. So what else next?
Transportation forms. Can we talk about transportation applications?
They're still being submitted, Father. I just helped a parent with one the other day.
Okay. If somebody doesn't have one, Duff, what's the...
Mr. Feliciano. You can email Mr. Feliciano. His website's, it's ofeliciano, but you'll see it on the website. If you're still stuck, contact the person that's in charge of your division, and they can help you get that. But I'm working with a parent just this week about that.
Good. Dex?
Just a time check, Father. It's 7:40 now.
You still have questions coming?
There are a couple of the same. I think that's it.
I would also let me add this: if this seems to be helpful to you, especially parents, I might get to talk to the kids at Convo 3 times a week right now, and another occasion. So if this seems to be helpful to you, please let us know. Let the Sister Ann know if you're elementary division parent, or Mr. Duffy if you're a middle division, or Dr. Lamourt or Ms. Tuorto for the prep division. We'll do more of them. And if you tell us what might be helpful, if it's helpful every couple of weeks, every month, whatever, well, I'm happy. I'm sure everybody here with us is happy to do that too. And take the 45 minutes and answer any questions that parents may have. And as we move through this, obviously things will be changing, right? Things will be changing on a regular basis, and so we can keep doing it. So let us know that. I think the kids go crazy when I say the last thing, because I always have about 7 last things. So this is the next last thing I'm going to say is a lot of schools have struggled through this situation. And Michelle and any of you may want to say something about it. That we haven't come across too many that are doing the breadth of things that our kids are doing, both from class to convo to having lunch with each other to having office hours where a kid gets yanked out of class because his camera's not on and has to meet Dr. Lamourt in his office, his virtual office, to the counseling center that's working every single day, available to kids and to parents. So I haven't bumped into, and I talk to a lot of people. I haven't found any place that's doing all this stuff that we're doing. Any of you want to comment on that?
I think for me, what I'm finding is that the most important things becomes the heart of the children, the heart of the families, and everyone to their capacity is trying to help out to the best of their ability. And we each need help sometimes, and we each can contribute something to help others. And so the motto of Benedict's being, whatever hurts my brother or sister hurts me. But I think more importantly, the positive ending of that, whatever helps my brother or sister helps me. And that's what I've been witnessing from emails, from texts, from phone calls, from Zooms, adults, children, everybody trying to work together because we're all struggling. And this is a learning curve for every single one of us. And so just keep up the help and keep up the patience. And I think that's what makes St. Benedict's what it is.
Father, you've definitely, I think, allowed us, the adults and the students, to recreate as much of a replicant of the school as we can in this online space and still be together in real time. And I think a lot of other places haven't really had that permission to do that. And you said, go and do what's best for the kids. And I appreciate that you've given us the ability to do that with the kids and to make that happen. I just want to slip in a little announcement if I can.
Sure.
For middle and prep division parents that are listening, we wanted to be able to give you another touchstone on grades since we've got this extended winter term now. So next week, we're going to have a winter evaluation 3. So you've already received 2. This will be your 3rd. We're going to push it out electronically since nobody's really in the building to do a mailing. So I'm going to ask you if you've had a changed email address lately or you're not sure if your email address is up to date. If you can update that, as well as any other information like your address or phone number in Magnus, and also to reach out to Doris Lamourt. It's dlamourt@sbp.org to update that information so we can make sure that we can reach you with Winter Eval 3, as well as any other information that will go along with it in a letter, just to keep you up to date on things around school. And if your son is in the prep division, we're going to continue the academic counseling process towards next school year, and we're going to start that next week. So group moderators, level coordinators, me, Mr. Molina, we're all going to be available through appointment, through office hours. We'll be having office hours in my office all week next week for guys that just want to drop in and talk about their schedules. A lot of kids have reached out to us already, but encourage your sons to connect just like they would if they were to drop by somebody's office physically at school, that they can still do that virtually via the Google Meets and the emails. So encourage them to do that.
I'm going to ask to just one thing. I don't mean to interrupt, but just with the emails, because we're also pushing out the report cards for the elementary division the same time, get all the electronic pieces out. So parents of elementary division students, if you have any email changes as well, if you could get that information directly to me or to Doris Lamourt, just so that through Magnus, put it into your Magnus account so that we can get that out to you. Okay, thank you.
Jim, you have anything?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on Michelle just mentioned office hours, reminded me. Middle and prep are attending classes 3 days a week, but the other 2 days a week, teachers, faculty are available virtually with office hours. I can speak for the middle division. There are 8 faculty members and myself. So out of the 9 adults on Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's at least 5 hours of the day. There is at least one adult from the middle division available online for students, for help, to stop in and chat, like Michelle was just saying. Make sure that students are taking advantage of that. I don't know if all the parents are aware that that's going on. And then some teachers, depending on their own schedules, make themselves available at other times if you can't meet them for that time for some reason. So it's another advantage and another thing we should take advantage of.
There seem to be a lot of questions around finances, tuition payments, whether there's going to be a discount. The answer to that is easy, no. And delaying payment. Let me just give you an idea of something. This operation for 50 years has made no sense from a business perspective, because what we're charging parents, most parents can't pay. Therefore, we have to raise, in any given year, a huge amount of money. This year, we have to raise $8 million to break even. So we collect whatever tuition that you've been charged. We look at whatever our portfolio produces, which is very little because we're invested heavily in fixed income because of covenants we have with the bank. And then our advancement office has to make up the rest and raise money. So while you may be sitting there saying, yeah, well, it's difficult for me to pay the tuition, well, it's also difficult for people to contribute the money. So the only way this works is truth and facts. truth, and facts. So the first tuition payment for the next academic year is due on May 10th, I think.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. So it's important. If you have a specific need, call the office, call Doris Lamourt in the admissions office and the financial aid office, and we'll talk about your specific need. But we lost in 1 week, 10 days, $4 million when the market tanked a couple of weeks ago. $4 million we lost. So, and the portfolio was not producing enough money to make up the difference. We have to raise money from other people. So I'm counting on parents doing their part and not trying to find ways of not paying the tuition. I don't believe that'll happen, but it's very important that sacrifices be made in the midst of it all, as Reverend Winstead always likes to remind us in his song, in the midst of it all. There are schools, brothers and sisters, that will disappear after this pandemic. It will disappear. Private schools that will disappear because whether it's a university, higher education, or high schools or elementary schools, they will disappear because they weren't able to navigate the finances of the situation. So far, so good. But parents need to do what they have an obligation to do, just like I have to do, and we have to do what we have an obligation to do to raise money. And we're working real hard at it. So you'll see that tomorrow is a St. Benedict's Prep Giving Day, which means that we're asking people to contribute to the education of your sons or your grandsons from all over the world. Actually, people can access it. So you can go online and see how that's doing. So therefore, it's important that you meet the obligation with the tuition requirements. And if you have an income that you're able to contribute to the Giving Day, do that too. It's great. I'm happy to discuss any of the finances with people that have particular needs. But we have particular needs too. The place won't be here for your younger kids or for future generations if everybody doesn't pull on the oar and make the boat move forward. I'm confident, but this is all going to work for us. We're working real hard at it and being successful at it, but we need to be successful at tuition collection as well. I hope that helps with that, with the finance question. If you want to know more about our finances, call us. Happy to sit down with you and explain them to you. Happy. You won't be happy when you see the results of our finances, but we're happy. The good news is that the business plan here made no sense 50 years ago, and it makes no sense now. But I'm still here. We're still able to sit here and talk to you about all of the things that these kids are accomplishing. Why? Because in the midst of this whole thing is the presence of God and the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit of the living God makes a way where there seems to be no way sometimes. So that's how it's happened. Anything else, Dex? You have anything else?
Time check. It's 7:50 now.
Right. So I'm happy to look at these questions with Dexter tomorrow and try to answer any of them. Please advise us whether this helps, whether you want to do another one, how frequently. We're happy to do all of that. No doubt you're getting to a point now after 50 minutes of being sick of listening to me, and I'm sick of listening to myself. So we're going to sign off from here. I'll look at your questions. Dex, can you let people know how many people have been on with us at one point or another?
Right now, 238.
That's great. That's terrific. So, and will this be up online later so people can access it?
The replay is available 5 minutes after we go off.
There you go. So 5 minutes after we're off, this will be available. So if you talk to a parent that's a friend of yours, didn't get to see it, they can get online and access it. We're in the big time here. So this is unbelievable. So again, thanks to Sister Ann, Mr. Duffy, just like Meet the Press, Mr. Duffy, Ms. Tuorto, and Mr. Lapina for directing it and producing it. And we'll sign off from here now and look forward to the next time that we're all together. So have a great evening. This is WSBP on the hill overlooking downtown Newark. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Bye bye.